My name is Chris Wamalwa and I'm your host at Diaspora Live Show. Diaspora Live Show airs live on standard digital platforms, on Facebook and standard digital videos. I want to welcome you to our season 2. In this season, we're going to be talking more about diaspora investing back at home. Beyond just remittances, we've seen that over time, Kenyans living abroad have been taking investing at home very seriously. So in the next 3 or 4 episodes, we're going to be shining the light on how the diaspora are investing back at home, the issues that are confounding them, and also the areas in which they're heavily investing in. Welcome. Like they say, time and chance happens to all the people. And it seems like time has slowed down for this humble-looking, soft-spoken Kenyan lady now living in West Virginia.
Okay, well, my name is Comfort Waitherero Mwangi, and I'm a real diaspora because I left home in 1992, went to Germany. I've lived in Germany for 13 years and then the rest of the years here in the US, totaling up to about 30 years together. You can do the math. So I'm really the classic case of diaspora, moved away from home. So I came to America with my young children and husband and realized I couldn't do a corporate job with my MBA from Germany, and because of childcare issues and all that. So I decided to do another degree in education so I could grow with my kids. So I did education and went to each class with them. When they were in elementary, I taught elementary, went home with them, had our holidays. It was a great time. So when they finished high school, about 2-3 years ago, and now they're in college, I decided to go back to college and do exactly what I wanted to do.
But from time to time, Chance also comes along in which she shares her academic knowledge and world views.
So I joined MIT, where I'm doing artificial intelligence, a lot of blockchain stuff, Internet of Things, and all that, and a lot of knowledge. And I'm just surprised that sometimes when I look at the people in my class, I'm probably the only African woman in this field, yet we're in the revolution of 4.0. Artificial intelligence is here. So in a nutshell, I've also been another line, a politician, so to say, but let me not say politician. I like politics. Politician is a bit dirty. I got interested in politics when I was in Form 1 in Alliance Girls High School. Our music teacher was called Mrs. Gadhitu, and her husband was very active in politics at the university. So when I'd go there and babysit, I would hear a lot of politics, things about the government, multi-party movement began there. And later I joined them when I went to Baraton. I joined a group, we all know Pambana, Mwakenya movement. And we actually were fighting for the multi-party system as young as I was.
Ms. Mwangi spent the last 2 or so decades advocating for the Kenyan diaspora's rights to vote. But as the new decade dawns, her discussions are now more about education and diaspora investing at home.
I think I would begin with the political aspect. The diaspora are heavily involved with the politics in their country, being far away, and so they're completely plugged in on what is happening, and technology has really helped, the social media and all that. So we actually know what's happening on the ground. As I said, at the ground things are different. We're also in touch with that. When it comes to the economic part, we're very in some of the projects that are going at home, although we do get shortchanged by relatives and other scrupulous people, but we try our best to get engaged, to plug in also economically. You all know about our remittances that they keep talking about. So in that way, we are plugged in economically. Socially, we take care of social things like weddings, we pay bills for funerals, education, and so on and so forth. So as diaspora, I would say this is going to change because we are probably the last generation, my generation, could be the last generation that is plugged in on what is happening in Kenya. Our children who are the classical millennials may not feel that attachment with home. So I do expect this interest to slowly fade away with our generation unless we really pass it on. And even the remittances, as the government counts on them so much, are going to go down. In the last 2 periods, actually the remittances have shown signs of declining. And that is because it's just us, the last generation, that can give it. And my son is not going to send $100 to somebody in Kenya. And they'll say, for what? Why are they not insured? Where can they take care of their things? That's a millennial way of thinking. So in general, that's what's happening right now, that we could be the last line.
It is commonly acknowledged that strong financial connections between the Kenyans in the diaspora and their family members back at home exist. These, however, tend to be informal in nature, with the majority just being engaged in supporting relatives and friends through remittances.
One thing we really need to do, or have tried to do, is speak in one voice. It's quite difficult because diaspora is spread all over different continents. America is a whole continent on its own. So it is difficult to unite people to speak as one voice. That's something we've worked on. When it comes to voting, we do have the power to vote. We struggled getting the dual citizenship that allowed us to run for some positions in Kenya, though not the positions that require defense and other issues like that. But I can tell you the steps we took. We had different organizations fighting and taking court cases to Nairobi, to the High Court, all the way to the top. And we did fight for the voting. So right now, as it stands, the government or the electoral body, it is law that we as diaspora should be able to vote. It is law. Chris, you asked about how come that the diaspora, we are very weak because we are fragmented, we're all over the place. If you want to talk politics, as Kenyans, we are on another level when it comes to talking politics. And around election time, people break down into their tribal groups and cocoons, and it becomes almost impossible to unite.
It is the reason this year's theme for the Diaspora Convention being held here in New Jersey is about diaspora investing at home in income-generating projects beyond remittances. The person behind this is this man here.
Chris, thank you for the opportunity. Again, my name is David Ochongi. I'm one of the organizers of the Diaspora Convention here in Hasbrook Heights in New Jersey, USA. So the objectives of our convention really is to bridge between us and the diaspora and Kenya and explore opportunities for investments and work with businesses and government to expand our reach so that we can all prosper as a diaspora community. And in that, we've actually invited keynote speakers. We have high-profile folks in business, including Lordship Africa, for example. They're here to speak about their product offerings. Jonathan Jackson. And then we also have Lab Fund that are interested in expanding into the diaspora, which is a great thing. We want to partner with them to increase our investments and capital flows into the country. In addition to that, we have of course invited government folks to come and be a part of this. As a matter of fact, we have the Chief Administrative Secretary, Honorable Babna Mwamba, is going to be speaking at this convention. We also have Honorable Martha Karua. She's going to be speaking to us about things that affect us as a community. And of course, His Excellency, Honorable Wycliffe Musalia Mudavadi is going to be the keynote speaker as well. And that includes what we have to say, and not the list of which, who includes activist Boniface Mwangi. That's going to be a part of this discourse today.
It's reported that although a good number of Kenyans living abroad hold savings and deposit accounts with Kenyan banks, only a small proportion say that they hold more formal savings and investment products such as savings or deposit accounts, insurance products, stocks, and shares in government bonds. In more ways than one, this suggests that the Kenyan diaspora members are motivated more by emotional and social drivers such as supporting friends and family than the desire to contribute to Kenya's social and economic development.
You know, currently right now, most of the challenges we face is the nature or the regulatory environment in Kenya. We feel that there's a lot of red tape between what we're used to in the United States when it comes to investing in the economy. For example, transactions that have to do with property, obtaining title to land that we buy. There's so much that has been put in place that it's an impediment, if you will. So we would like to have that process streamlined and made it a lot easier. Also, we would like to work with banks, but I think the banks are asking for way too much information that has really nothing to do with what we in the diaspora consider as a business necessity from that standpoint. So I think if we can figure out a way to remove some of these barriers, which really just unnecessary because they don't add value to or have legitimate business purpose while they're there, I think it will open up more opportunities for us to want to expand. So that's challenge number one, the regulatory and the red tape environment. But second, on our side, we want to reconstitute our economy as a diaspora community. We want to restructure it, have a more formal corporate type of setup. So in that, part of what we'll be talking about here is developing a proper business or economic development framework to address those challenges that we face so that we have a much easier capital flow to investment or invest in Kenya, especially under the President's Big Four agenda.
When you speak to the diaspora, almost everybody will express an interest in investing in Kenya, but they are currently holding back because of trust issues. Corruption is presented as the number one issue, which has led to the mushrooming of unscrupulous businesses ready to con the diaspora through non-existing projects. This has fed into a broader sense of insecurity, exacerbating concerns around potential risks to investments.
Also, there's an issue of hyperbole, in terms of what we expect, what we're being told to expect when we transition back home, and what most of our people end up finding the reality to be. So there's a disconnect between reality and what we know to be, including, of course, the business environment is tough, not to minimize how the government has gone out of its way to improve it, but corruption is still part of the business environment in Kenya. And, we have not overcome that. We have, I think, an inefficient economic system relative to what we're used to in the diaspora. So we would like to be able to transition or transfer some of that knowledge back home. And in our case, I think we feel that we need to be at the driver's seat in terms of those investments. We're right now talking about...
You're talking about diaspora and investing in Kenya. Again, like I said, we are the baby boomers, so to say. But after us, it's going to be a gap. The generation that is coming up, they're not interested in investing in houses, and in Kenya, let alone even over here. They want to rent. The millennials want to rent, move from city to city. It's a different mindset. So we also need to change that way, and that's going to hit Kenya. I can see people in Kenya now starting to share apartments, the younger people, not buying them, not getting stuck with mortgages. And so we need to also think of how we're going to realign ourselves in terms of investments. Otherwise, I can foresee ghost cities coming up in Kenya where people will have nobody to rent or to buy. So we have to be very cautious. We have to read the times.
In spite of all this, there's definitely a lot of interest in saving and investing in Kenya. Majority of the diaspora members express an interest in investing in Kenya in either the stock market, establishing a business, and in obtaining a savings or deposit account. Both the diaspora and business owners agree that with a growing middle class and wealth of investment opportunities, Kenya has much to offer to the potential investor. It's notable, however, according to recent survey findings by the Commonwealth Secretariat, that 1 in 5 diaspora members say that they are unsure when asked about preferences for future savings and investment, suggesting that there is a real opportunity to raise awareness of potential investment opportunities amongst Kenyans living in the diaspora. Thank you for joining us today in our show. We hope that you enjoyed the show. Remember, you can watch this show again on YouTube. You can also watch it on Facebook. The show streams live on standard digital platforms. Our email address is diasporaliveshow@standardmedia.co.ke. And of course, our hashtag is Diaspora Live Show. Join us again next week as we bring you more about how the diaspora are investing back at home.